everyone, Amy Astro here. So glad you all are joining me here today. Lately you guys have been giving me some really great feedback on my videos and some comments for some future videos that you all would like to see. And I am actually looking really forward to working through some of those video requests. Please leave me more comments below and I will add them to the list and I will work through them. I'm really enjoying this back and forth that you all have with me. The support has just been really amazing. But thinking about some of the comments that you all have made, some of you have noticed that I use the Moonlite NiteCrawler. Now, I've owned the Moonlite NiteCrawler for about 2 years now, and your questions have been, what is it about? What does it do? Mechanically, software-wise, how do I get it to operate? And just basically some general thoughts. Well, the Nightcrawler is it was a huge investment. So it took me a while to decide to actually pull the plug and purchase it. Now, I already had the Moonlite stepper motor, so I knew that the company was great. I really enjoyed using the basic Moonlite stepper motor and stuff with my telescope rig. So when I wanted to step up in the game, it was kind of a no-brainer on which company I was going to go with. And I contacted them and made my purchase. Now, the Nightcrawler is kind of a two-in-one. It will do your autofocus for you, and it will also rotate your camera to, specific degrees. And what made this so great was now I could rotate my images based on my camera sensor, and I could fit an entire galaxy in my image and not have to worry about doing mosaics if I didn't want to. But speaking of mosaics, it opened a whole nother door for me as far as repeatability. So now I could image over multiple nights, multiple times setting up, over a course of a month or 2 months, and I could always plate solve on the image that I took the previous session, and it would line it up perfectly and rotate my camera to match that orientation. So it really just opened up the doors, so I didn't have to stress over having, one night here and one night there and trying to blend all these images together. This just made everything seamless. Repeatability was really, I really enjoyed having that option. I have a number for my focus, so I can always repeat my focus if I need to. That was particularly helpful when I'm doing my flats. And then being able to rotate my camera, that helped out a lot too. So this week I'm going to give you the nuts and bolts, the soup to nuts of the Moonlite NiteCrawler. We'll talk about how it's built mechanically, some basic specs on it. I'll show you the software and how to hook it up in Sequence Generator Pro to get everything running for you. So stay tuned. I got lots to show you today. So let's talk about what makes this Nightcrawler tick. The Nightcrawler is a 2-axis worm drive rotating focuser. It's a fully electronic focuser. The vertical focus motion is handled by 3 stainless steel rails riding on a 6.5-inch bearing under large preloaded pressure. This allows the focuser to maintain a centerline mechanical point even with a huge instrument load hanging off of it. So this can handle all those heavy cameras and filter wheels that we have. The rotation is provided by an inner and out draw tube riding on a double row of bearing track, providing extreme rigidity. The draw tube is designed just like a tall bearing, but in this case, it is hollow. There is no backlash for up to 25 pounds worth of instrument loads. Boy, this handles a lot. The focuser holds heavy loads even with the power off. So you don't have to worry about things shifting when you're traveling with your devices. It even remembers its position when the power is back on. This is pretty sweet. You don't have to reset it back to 0 every time you turn the power on. The Nightcrawler has a helpful operating screen that will go to sleep when it's not being used. In the software, you can set the LED brightness for when it's awake or when it's asleep. I set mine to 1 when it's sleeping, which is no lights on, and it's perfect for your dark space rules. The control panel has a rotation jog rate increment, a focus jog rate increment. You can toggle this to one click on the knob is 1 step or 100 steps. There is also an included temperature sensor connection. You can get a remote temperature reading or a reading from the internal sensor itself. I'm currently using only the internal sensor, which is just one less wire on my rig. The Nightcrawler comes with 3 extension tubes of different lengths that can help you achieve focus for your telescope camera combo, and these are very easy to exchange with the threaded connections. When ordering, you'll need to put in your telescope information so you can get the correct mating flange for your scope. The Nightcrawler can be installed in any orientation, and you can flip the text display on the screen for your preferred orientation. Moonlite makes 3 Nightcrawler sizes now, depending on what your needs are. One with a 2.5 inch, 3 inch, or 3.5 inch. I'm currently using the 2.5 inch version. All right, now for some technical specs here. The basics are, this can handle up to 25 pounds of load capacity. The rotating draw tube is 0.001 degrees worth of resolution. This is ASCOM compliant. It runs off of 12 volts DC with a 400 milliamp in with both motors running, and 120 milliamps when it is just idle. And depending on the model, it can weigh anywhere from 6 pounds to 8 pounds. So if you want to see more of the technical specs, check them out on focuser.com. All right, so I'm over here on the Moonlight's website, which is focuser.com, and we're going to download the 3 pieces of software that you need to get the Nightcrawler up and running. So we'll go over here to the download tab on the website, and we're going to scroll down until we find the Ftdi chip driver. And this driver is extremely important to have installed on your machine because this is what will get the USB hub port talking for you properly. So download this driver first. You go down to this website, and then he shows you what you need to install right there. And this is step number 1. You need to do this prior to plugging in the Nightcrawler itself, okay? Now the second thing you need to download is here in the Nightcrawler section of the page is the no ASCOM version of the utility program. Now this program will get you into the background of the software itself here under the configuration tab, where you'll be able to set up your screen orientation, how you want it to show up, whether it's right side up or upside down, depending on how you install everything. But it will also let you set up the light levels, so when it goes to sleep, you can get this screen to turn completely off, or when it's on, you can make it very, very bright or very, very dim, depending on what your dark space requirements are and what works best for you. But you need this software to set those items up. All right, and the third item that you will install here is the ASCOM driver. And this is the piece of software that will allow you to communicate with your Astro imaging programs. I currently use Sequence Generator Pro, and this is the driver I need to get it to talk with that program. All right, so next we're going to jump over to the softwares themselves, and I'll show you how to get them all set up and talking. All right, I'm over here on the Scope PC, and I am using Remote Desktop to get into it. And the first thing we need to do to connect up our Nightcrawler is, 1, we need to make sure that we've installed that Ftdi chip. 2, we need to install the non-ASCOM software. And 3, we need to install the ASCOM version of the software. So once all 3 of those are complete, we need to find out where our Nightcrawler is. Which COM port did it connect up to? And to do that, you come over here to the Windows button and right mouse click, and you come up here to Device Manager. All right, and we come down here to this ports, COM and LPT. And you see I have two items on here. One of these items is my Skywatcher mount, and the other one is the Nightcrawler. So typically what I'll have to do is I'll unplug one and replug the other to figure out which one is which. I know right now that COM port 4 is my Nightcrawler. So now we'll come over here to the Nightcrawler Software, and here it is. I've moved it into my Start menu, and this is the non-ASCOM program. Let's bring it over here to the center for us. Now the first thing we need to do is come down here and put it on COM 4. All right, and then we can connect it. And right now it is connected, and we can prove that over here. Well, we can prove it right here looking at the temperature. Currently it's using the internal temperature sensor because that's what I have plugged in, and it is rating it's about 25 degrees C inside my house, and my power supply is giving it 12.8 volts DC. Okay, so everything appears to be connecting great. And this is because I had already installed the Ftdi chip. Now, if I wanted to take my focus jog out, I could hit 1000 and it moves to 0.1000, and then I would watch it physically happen. But typically to view the focus moving, unless you put your fingers on it and you can feel it moving, I go down to the 5000, and then I can, test to make sure it's working. And the same with the jog rotation option here. Let's say if we move it 1000, you can see it's saying that it's moved, but it's just a hair off of move, and seeing that is a little difficult. But if we take it up to 5000, you can see that it's moving just a little bit more. All right, so let's go over here to this configuration tab, and you can see that it's communicating like it's supposed to. But right now I feel like my display brightness is too bright during the day, and it's set at 255, which is the largest number. And if I wanted it to be not so bright, I could change it down to, let's just say 200. And then you look at the screen and see if that makes you happy. Okay, I tend to like it on the brighter side because it's always during the daytime that I'm wanting to see it, and this bright is really not that bright. Okay, now my sleep brightness is set to 0, so when this times out and goes to sleep, that's just the LED that's going to sleep, it will turn off the display, and that's great for your dark site rules and such. Now you can do some temperature offsets, voltage offsets, and all these if you want to. I don't touch a thing. I leave them all alone. I just mess with this brightness display portion. Now I go ahead and I'll let it auto update its drivers. Now this is where if you had put the Moonlite NiteCrawler in a different rotation, you could flip the display to make it more comfortable for you to read. Okay, and I've got enabled encoders, and really that's all that I've got going on here. And display brightness, darkness, flipping, that's all for what makes you comfortable. We'll come back here to the focus tab, and now that we know that all of this is working, I will go ahead and disconnect it here because you can only have one program driving this Nightcrawler at a time. And I'll be honest, typically I don't open this software again. I've had the Nightcrawler for 2 years, and this is probably the second time that I have opened this. I opened it the first time to make my little settings, and that was it. So let's close this, and let's go over to Sequence Generator Pro. This is my imaging capture software. Okay, and this is where you will want to set up your Nightcrawler. Now, probably the best place to configure it is over here in your equipment profiles. We'll go to one of my profiles that I've got working right now. We'll go to Focus, and remember, we've already installed the ASCOM drivers for this. So under Focuser, you will see now Nightcrawler Focuser is an option for you. All right, So it's already, it's halfway there for you. Now if we hit settings, you can see it's already on COM port 4 because we already set it up. And these items I typically leave as the default. All right, the find focus step and the course focus step, this is your preference. This is to help you find your focus and moving. But remember, these steps are extremely small. So even though I'm saying 500, that's like a couple hairs on a flea worth of movement. So that's why I've got this as being fine and 2500 as being my course. This has nothing to do with your autofocus routine. This is just for this focus control section over here. Okay, now you can reverse the direction if you want. You can set up focus reminders if you want. I do use the autofocus. You can go ahead and have it auto adjust per filter and temperature compensation. I leave these blank right here because I'll set them up under the autofocus. And I do my focusing at a 2x2 bin, and with my mono camera, 6 seconds works good for my focus. And this is something that you will have to do through trial and error to see which exposure works the best for you. And ultimately, you want it to be the shortest exposure so you don't spend as much time running the autofocus routine. Let's go to autofocus and let's say set. Okay, there's a couple matrix available. The half flux is the standard, and if you wanted to use the full flux one, you need to have pinpoint. I don't use pinpoint, so I leave it at the default. Now you have choices here. You can autofocus every so many frames, you can autofocus for every so many degree changes, or you can autofocus every 10, 20, 30 minutes. Those are your choices. I tend to autofocus on filter change since I'm dealing with a mono camera and each filter gives me a different focus point. And I also do autofocus before my sequence starts, not on resume, because I tend to pause my sequence to inspect an image sometimes, and once I'm happy with that image, I want it to just resume. I don't want it to run through the autofocus again because that just takes more time. So that's why I choose the one with not resume. But you can have autofocus on resume if you like, and you can have autofocus after the centering action, which is during plate solve. And I don't do it there either. I just deal with it during filter changes, and I do all my plate solving on the luminance filter. Okay, so here's where I set up my 6 seconds is how long it takes for an exposure per image to focus with. I use 2x2 binning. I use 7 focus points. You can use 9 if you like. The goal here is to use an odd number so you can create that really nice V point. Okay, and my step size. For this camera, the ZWO 1600 monochrome, and my telescope, the Explorer Scientific 102, when I ran the calculation, it required a focus step of about 553. Now I do have a previous video and I'll link it in here for you to follow so you can find out what your specific autofocus point is. And remember, that calculation gives you a starting point and you'll have to nudge it along until you get that really nice V curve when you run autofocus. Okay, autofocus dialog has an auto close delay on it, and I have mine set for 4 seconds. Minimum star diameter of a 1x1 pixel, I have it set at 4. You can disable the smart focus if you're not happy with it, but I leave it running. It works just fine. Autofocus with a filter, no, I want it to autofocus per filter, so I don't have that checked. Auto crop focus by frames. This is if you wanted to only work on, let's say, 50% of the frame. You can do that. It does speed things up along. If your camera has a lot of hot pixels or dead parts in it, you can apply a dark subtraction to it, which will improve it. And you can do a saving if you like. But these are the settings that I typically use. And you can say, okay. Now if you want to look over here, if you come to the other tab, you can look at your rotator. Now since we've got the ASCOM already loaded up, the Nightcrawler rotator shows up in here. And this settings is the same settings that we've been looking at, COM port 4, and these are all left at default. Now I have the trace on which is it helps me do troubleshooting if I run into a problem. It puts something in a little note file so you can pass it on to the vendors and they can help you troubleshoot things with it. But once everything's up and running and good, I tend to turn the trace file off, and it just, clears up my memory just a little bit. And just say OK. But that's all there is to setting it up in Sequence Generator Pro. The ASCOM driver is very intuitive, and it really did all of the work for me. So now when I'm ready to use it, I just turn it on. It will automatically connect. You can see my focus over here. We left it at 1000. I could say go to 2000 if I like and say OK, and the focuser is now moving to position 2000. I can also do the same with my rotator. Currently it's set at 0, but let's say I want it to be at 25 degrees. Oops, I didn't connect it yet. We got to do that. Come down here to my rotator and let's connect it. All right, I want it to go to 25 degrees. I'll say set. And it is currently rotating to the 25 degree position. All right, but that's all there is to it. It's very easy to operate and to set up in Sequence Generator Pro. Now, this is not the only software package that it works with. There's quite a list of them, and you'll find them over there on Focuser.com to find out which software packages this is compatible with. But pretty much, if it is ASCOM compliant, this will work with it. Wow, that was a lot to go through. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed making it and putting everything together. How about some of those motion slides that I did for you for the video editing? We're trying to up our game just a little bit to try to keep it a little bit more entertaining for you. And, well, I'm a gadget gal. I like to buy gadgets, so might as well buy some new video gear and incorporate it, and let me know if you picked up on what I might have purchased, and I'll leave it in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching and spending your time with me. I do appreciate it. I look forward to making next week's video for you all, and guess what? The ice cream man's coming. This is what you get when you videotape outside. But so we got some background music for you. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing, hit like below, and share this video with all your Astro friends. And until next week, this is Amy Astro. I am signing off, and I am wishing you all great health and clear skies. I'll see y'all next week, y'all. Goodbye. Love ya.